Good evening and welcome to the Guilderland Central School District Board of Education meeting for August 14th, 15th. Please silence your cell phones and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item this evening is public comment number 1. Do we have a public comment? No. Great. So the next item is our consent items. It includes the minutes of the July 5th meeting, the CSE and CPSE recommendations, personnel agenda, treasurer's report ending July 30th, 2023, and extra classroom activity funds reports. Do I have a motion to approve the consent items? Blanca and Gloria, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 8-0. Information item is next. Start.
Good evening. I have our professional learning plan on the agenda for your review. It will come up for your approval in our September meeting. If you have any questions, I'll take them now, or we can answer questions in the September agenda.
No questions?
Well, I'm just wondering, and I'm sorry to show my ignorance about this. Everybody has to do this every year? I mean, it looked like a fairly extensive,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And some of you may have noticed there's been a little tweak in name. This used to be the professional development plan. The new guidelines are to call it professional learning. But it's ultimately very similar to what we've done before with the professional
Okay, it
development
just
plan.
seemed like really long and involved, but that's good. I mean, I like to keep the staff up, but that's what it looked like to me. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Next item is part 1 of the school business information regarding the softball field scoreboard donation.
Thank you. At the July 5th board meeting, the board accepted a donation for a varsity softball field scoreboard from the Varsity Softball Booster Club. The Booster Club identified a donor to help share in the cost, and I want to call out and thank Monaco, Cooper, Lammy, and Carr. The law firm donated $5,000 of the overall $6,833 cost of the scoreboard. The rest is made up by the Booster Club. As part of this donation, the firm will be recognized at the base of the scoreboard. In your board items, you had a mock-up of that. So that will be in recognition of their generous contribution. So I just wanted to thank them publicly for the donation.
Great. Well, thank you very much to the firm and the Booster Club. It's fantastic. Next item, superintendent information, Dr. Wiles.
All right, thank you so much. I'll start with just a brief summary about our summer school programs. Today marks the end of summer school programming for our older students. There were 106 students enrolled in the regional summer school program that was held this year at Schenectady High School, with quite a few more students scheduled as walk-in Regents exam test takers. Those exams are scheduled to take place on August 16th and 17th. The end of this week also marks the conclusion of our extended school year program with Students for Disabilities, which was hosted at Guilderland Elementary School. Earlier in the summer, we also held a 3-week English as a New Language program at Westmere Elementary School in the summer. And then we also had another successful season of the FMS Butterfly Station, which ended with Release Day, and that was last Friday, August 11th at 11 o'clock. Volunteers in the program were available for evening hours each Wednesday this year. That was a new addition to the schedule. We piloted it last year, and it took off very nicely this year. So I just want to thank all of our faculty and staff who worked so hard this summer on these programs, and I hope they now get to enjoy a little bit of summer vacation before we're back with the full school year. So thanks to all of those folks.
And thank you to those kids who are there and loving it. It's a wonderful program.
Absolutely. So speaking of the start of the new school year, I just want to do a couple updates about opening of school activities. So Tuesday, September 5th is the opening day for our staff. We'll begin at 7:30 in the high school with continental breakfast and coffee for all of our staff. And we'll also have some welcoming remarks, service recognition, introduction of new staff. The program begins at 8 a.m. and we are in the West Gym for that. And board members are all invited to come. We also have our kindergarten welcome. Our elementary schools are inviting new kindergarten students to drop off supplies, meet with their teachers, and maybe even board a school bus. Specific details for each building come right from the building to our parents and guardians. And then we have some orientation programs. The middle school will host its 6th grade orientation on Wednesday, September 6th from 8:45 till 10 in the morning. And the high school will host its orientation for 9th graders and all new students on Wednesday, September 6th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then on Thursday, September 7th, we will welcome back all of our students, K-12, for the first day of classes.
Exciting. Okay. Moving right along, next is action items. Back to Andrew for our school business management action items.
Thank you. We have a number of items tonight. The first one are some general fund transfers as we wrap up the 22-23 fiscal year. So these are transfers to align budget codes to expenses.
Motion to approve the general fund transfer. Blanca and Judy, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Passes 8-0. Next is a resolution to confirm tax rolls and authorize tax levy.
Yes, so our next two items are about the tax rolls, the tax levy, and the tax warrant. But prior to those, I'm going to share a brief presentation about the context of this process and then the data underlying this year's rates. So I want to start by highlighting the factor of this process that's within the school district's control. That is the amount included in the school budget that is supported by the tax levy. This shows the last few years of both the tax levy growth in the school district and the annual inflation rate. And I just want to highlight that, prior to the last 2 years where inflation grew significantly, the levy growth and the inflation were, very closely aligned. In the last 2 years, inflation spiked. We have absorbed, we have recognized or experienced that impact in the same way that our residents are experiencing that impact in their lives. But we've worked to keep the levy at a growth rate well below inflation. So the tax rates themselves are a process of math, and they're math done with data that comes out over the course of 4 or 5 months following the passage of the budget. We have 4 towns within our school district. Each of those towns has a separate tax rate because the assessment of those towns' property is done at different times. Because across the state, most towns don't do assessments every year, the state develops an equalization rate that takes sales data and other data and tries to project what is the equivalent market value of property within a given town. And often the further you are out from the time that evaluation was done, the more change or swing there can be in the equalization rate. And then within that, as we look to see how much of the levy is paid for by each town within the district, what we look at is what is the overall value of this full market or full value of property, and what share of that is possessed by each town, and then that is the amount of the levy that they are responsible for. So if it were to work out that we had 4 towns with 25% of the value each, they would each pay 25% of the levy and it would be equally distributed. We don't have that. The vast majority of our residents and our property wealth are in the town of Guilderland, so that is where both most of the property and most of the tax levy is. This shows the time of the last reassessment in each town. So Guilderland, it was 4 years ago, all the way back 26 years ago for Knox. Taxable assessed value, again, this is the value from the assessment. So that is the 1997, or all the way up to 2019, this is what the assessment was put on the property. Equalization rate is what we divide that by to get this full value, or this market-ish kind of value of property. So $3.8 billion of property in Guilderland, the full value of that is $4.48 billion. The equalization rate comes out, shortly after we pass the budget. Then we get the final assessment total and the exemption summary. These are the reports that go into the formula to define the tax rates. So that means when we project the tax rate, when we're adopting the budget, we don't have these numbers. So we carry over the existing numbers and project tax rates. So within each town, two factors really control the swing of the tax rate for a given levy. One is, what is their share of the overall property value? So if their share of the overall property value goes up, they have a higher amount of the tax that they're responsible for. Likewise, if it goes down, they're responsible for a corresponding lower amount of the tax. And then the other is taxable valuation. That's the value of the property that the tax is distributed across. If that goes up, there's more property to distribute that levy across, so the rates are lower. If that goes down, again, same levy, but divided among a smaller pool, the amounts will be correspondingly higher. So this is the overall total assessed value in billions in the school district as a whole, so across the 4 towns that have property within our district. Often this increases slightly. We have seen in the last 2 years, mostly, but not all, but mostly because of the tax certiorari outcomes that have reduced the assessments of properties, a significant decrease in the assessed property value within our district. So 4.349, 4.357, gradual increase, 4.340, relatively small decline, down to 4.264 and 4.107. Those are much more significant declines in assessed property value. That is the amount of value that the levy is distributed across. If we look at the change in assessed value for each town, we see that this decline is really in Guilderland, the site of the tax certiorari claim, so it's not a surprise. But the property value this year in Guilderland declined 3.97%. Again, that's the assessed value, not the full value. That is the assessed value with the tax rate is distributed across. So going back to that share, and again, the share comes from the full value. In 2019-20, Guilderland was responsible for 92.63% of the levy. And this year, it's 91.5%. Right, so a drop in the amount of the levy, a share the levy is responsible for, would lead to a lower tax rate, but that is more than made up for by that real sharp drop in assessed value. Whereas the assessed value has grown in the other towns very slightly, but they have a corresponding larger share of the levy. So this is that theoretical chart I wanted to show you. Increasing valuation, so if you have more assessment to spread it across, you have a lower tax rate. Decreasing valuation, you have a higher tax rate. More of a percentage, you have a higher tax rate. Less of a percentage, lower tax rate. But one of those can outweigh the others for each town, depending on the trends in a given district. So these are the town-specific data. Both of our estimate that we used when projecting tax rates and then the final projection. We see the equalization dropped in Guilderland, but the biggest change is that significant drop in taxable valuation. So $170.6 million drop in valuation is what is really driving the projected tax rate increase from 2.66% to 6.01%. As if we go to Bethlehem, and this will be true for New Scotland and for Knox, the valuation increased slightly, but they have a larger share of the overall levy. So the tax rate increases here are driven by that larger share of the overall levy. So in Bethlehem's case, the final tax rate is 13.55%. Scotland, the final tax rate's 8.39%. Again, because of the increase in their share of the overall full value within the district boundaries, and knocked at 6.64%. This is the 5-year tax rate change summary. Now again, looking at the top line, Guilderland had a reassessment, so that the taxable value was changed and updated by that, which is why the rate dropped. Any questions or comments? Then the next item is the resolution to confirm the tax rolls and authorize the tax levy.
A motion to approve that. Nate and Blanca, any other questions or concern? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved, not 8-0. Then
And
we have a
then-
motion concerning the tax warrant.
Yes, so this is, following that, this authorizes the confirmation of the tax roll after the authorization of levy. This resolution issues the tax warrant telling the collector of taxes to collect the taxes in the sum authorized by the levy and the roll.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the tax warrant for 2023-2024. Judy and Gloria, any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 8-0. Next, I have a couple service agreements.
Yes, these are both agreements for programs and services for students with disabilities and students whose needs are best met through alternative education programs. Both of these contracts are extensions of existing agreements that we've had a satisfactory experience.
Okay, so the two service agreements are the True North K-12 agreement and the Woods Services Incorporated. We have a motion to approve the two contracts. Nate and Gloria, any comments or questions? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved, 8-0. Next is the Ice Hockey Cooperative Agreement.
Yes. So we are one of 5 school districts that have joined forces to offer ice hockey because there's not enough interest or support at individual schools, but by collaborating, we have the ability to offer a team. So this agreement extends it for this year.
Great, we need a motion to approve the Ice Hockey Cooperative Agreement. Judy and Nate, any questions?
I have a question. What are the schools?
Yes. So
I have it here, I can read, it's
all right, Scotia Glenville. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Scotia Glenville, Mahonison, Chalmont, Voorheesville.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Special Education Legal Services.
Yes. So this item is renewing our agreement with Gervin and Ferlazzo for special education legal services. We're very pleased with the experience we've had with them. Their attorneys, Tara Moffett and Aaron Morris, have been a good asset for the district.
Yes, so we need a motion to approve the Gerben Filazzo PC agreement. Gloria and Judy, any comments or questions? None heard. All those in favor?
I have to abstain.
Okay.
Husband's a Gervin.
Passes 7-0. 7 with one abstain. Got it. Okay. Next is the final BOCES service contracts and preliminary 2023 service contracts.
So our BOCES contracts for services are extensive, multifaceted, and updated regularly throughout the year. So this is both our final contract for last year for services obtained through the BOCES, and then our initial contract for this current school year.
So motion to approve the 2022-23 BOCES final contract and the 23-24 BOCES preliminary contract. Blanca and Nate, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 8-0. Next is emergency preparedness sheltering agreements.
Thank you. These are continuing existing agreements for emergency evacuation sites for our district.
Great. In those three places, we have St. Madeleine, Sophie School, Town of Guilderland, Town Hall, and Westmere Fire Department. Motion to approve those three sheltering agreements. Katie and Nate, any questions? All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Next, private contracting transportation services contract extensions.
Yes, so under education law, we can renew contracts with increases up to CPI. In this case, 3.5% for this given year. This is renewing 2 contracts with Durham School Services and Raja Group.
Great. Motion to approve the, don't make me say it again, but the transportation services contracts. We have Blanca and Kim. Any questions? None heard. All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Similar, private transportation contract services.
Yeah, so these are the
Oh, no,
results.
I did, oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes,
go ahead.
these are new bids. So the results of these would recommend approving or agreeing with contract number 1 with Amazing Grace and Northland Transportation, and contract number 2 with Raja Group.
So we need approval to approve a motion to approve the private transportation contract services. Blanca and Katie, any comments or questions? None? All those in favor? Passes 8-0. Paper towel award.
Award is the word I was looking for last time. So the recommendation here is, this is a 3-year contract with the option for additional 2 years of extension. So the recommendation would be awarding it to WB Mason.
Motion to approve the paper towel award. Nate and Kim, all those in favor? Aye. Passes 8-0. And you guessed it, toilet tissue bid award.
So the recommendation here, same time frame parameters, would be to award it to WB Mason.
All right. Motion to approve the toilet tissue bid
It's
award.
all you, Gloria.
Gloria.
It's a tradition.
Gloria and Nate. All those in favor, or any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Passes 8-0. Oh, my goodness. 2022-23 school breakfast and lunch prices.
So the recommendation is maintaining the existing prices for breakfast and lunch at the elementary, middle, and high schools.
Motion to approve the school breakfast and lunch prices. Blanca and Judy, comments or questions? All those in favor? Passes 8-0. BOCES classroom rental ancillary service.
So this year, like last year, BOCES has requested 8 classrooms. This would cover those classrooms as well as ancillary services associated with the use of those classrooms.
Need a motion to approve the BOCES classroom rental and ancillary services. Nate and Katie, any comments or questions? None. All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Surplus obsolete property.
Yes. So the recommendation here would be to declare surplus or obsolete a number of electronics items, and then I've also included that we have a quote for sale of obsolete iMacs to a company that would erase them and take parts.
Okay, need a motion to approve the declaration of surplus and obsolete property. Gloria, Nate, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Donations.
Thank you. I have a recommendation of 2 donations. The first are 4 books for Pine Bush Elementary Library from Amelia Rapp. Ms. Rapp is a former teacher and the great aunt of a first grader at Pine Bush, and so she's donating the books in honor of her great niece. And the second donation are various supplies from American Printing House for the Blind. They will be used throughout the elementary years for preschool student attending Helderberg Preschool.
Thank you very much for the donations. Need approval to approve them? Recommend. Judy and Gloria, any comments or questions other than thank you very much? All those in favor? Aye. Passes 8-0. Universal pre-K.
The final item is awarding a pre-K, signing a pre-K contract agreement with the YMCA for pre-K.
Need a motion to approve the Capital District YMCA Universal Pre-K Agreement. Kate and Blanca. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is superintendent action.
Thank you so much. My first item is to request approval for our annual Project Save Plan. This was presented at the July 5th Board of Education meeting. It has been posted on our website and made available for public comment. And I recommend that the board approve our 2023-24 Project Save Plan.
Great. Motion to approve the 2023-24 Project Save Plan. We got Kim and Nate. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Passes 8-0.
My second item this evening is a resolution for a settlement agreement that reads, resolved that the Board of Education of the Guilderland Central School District authorize its superintendent of schools to enter into a stipulation of settlement on its behalf to resolve all claims in a manner involving student number 76994 on the terms and conditions reviewed by the Board of Education in executive session and authorized for settlement at its board meeting held on August 15th, 2023.
Need a motion to approve the resolution settlement agreement. Gloria and Katie, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Last item.
And my last item is the board's consideration of the dissolution of a bargaining unit. And the resolution reads, whereas the Board of Education of the Guilderland Central School District previously recognized the district office confidential personnel as a collective bargaining unit in accordance with the New York State Taylor Law, consisting of various management confidential employees in the district office. And whereas the district office confidential personnel bargaining unit has recently notified the superintendent of schools that it no longer wishes to be a collective bargaining unit under the Taylor Law and has voted to dissolve that collective bargaining unit. And it is hereby resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board accepts the declaration of the dissolution by the district office confidential personnel and will no longer recognize them as a collective bargaining unit. Members of the unit will be addressed as individual employees for future terms and conditions of employment.
We need a motion to approve the dissolution of the bargaining unit. Gloria and Judy, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye, passes 8-0. Thank you, Dr. Wiles. Board committee reports is next. Has anybody met with the new committees yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
We usually ask usually what I recall, we asked the chairperson from last year to call the first meeting for the committee. I mean, the chair from last year, whoever the chair was, to ask the clerk to send out a call for meeting. If you could,
Ms. Livingston, would you send out a
for all our committees,
notification so that we could start our business
get on a
meetings?
calendar.
Thank you.
Policies meeting
Pally's
next
on.
Tuesday.
Do we have a meeting?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Oh, sorry, okay, so policy has a meeting. When is it scheduled?
Policy has a meeting next Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Oh, great.
Great.
Does anybody else have meetings scheduled?
No, we'd like one the third week in September if we could. Communications.
Okay, you guys can coordinate when everybody can make it.
Right.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, that's all for that. Any public comment, Ms. Livingston? No? For public comment number 2. Okay, last item for the meeting is the board issues, ideas, and sharing. Any ideas or sharing? None heard. Okay, all right, I'm going to leave it at that. Please remember to fill out your self-evaluation board, and we need a motion to adjourn. Blanca and Katie, all those in favor? Aye. Passes 8-0. See you next time. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Good night.
Night, Rebecca.
Bye, Rebecca.
Good night.
Good night.
Feel better.